Hey class! In this video, we are going to be going over the topics from this social studies unit, which is about our American culture. So I'm just going to be covering in this video some of the topics that you will be learning about over the next few lessons. And so what I want you to do during this video is just listen to some of the things that you're going to be learning about and maybe think of examples from your own life. So in this unit, we are going to be studying culture, especially our American culture, which is the culture that we all share by being Americans. Let's remember first what our culture is. When we are talking about culture, we're talking about the customs or the way of life of a certain group of people. So if we're talking about our American culture, we're talking about the certain way of life of the American group of people. What are some things that make up a culture? Well, some of the things that make up a culture are our traditions, our art, our food, and our music. Now, how did America get to have its own traditions, art, food, and music? Well, they got their culture. We as Americans got our culture from different groups of people that immigrated or came to the United States. In one of the lessons, you will read about these groups of immigrants that came to America and how life wasn't always easy for them. What you might want to do is ask the adults in your family, where did your family immigrate from? Now, this probably isn't your parents, though for some of you, maybe it is. For me, my family, my great-great-great-great-grandparents immigrated from places like Switzerland, from Germany, and from the Norse countries. So, because my family originally came from these places, we have certain cultural traditions that we have. For example, in South Dakota, a lot of the people are from a German ancestry. So our great-great-great-grandparents immigrated to the United States from Germany. So in South Dakota, where I'm from, one of the traditional foods that we like to eat is called Kuchen, which is a German, it's kind of like a pie, but it has a very doughy crust and you layer the top with fruit. It's so delicious. Another tradition that our culture has is in music. One type of music that a lot of people like to listen to is called polka music. That's a very big part of my family's culture, our traditions. So what happens when different groups of people come to the United States? Do you think that they keep their culture all to themselves? Right, probably not. They share it. For example, how many of you have ever eaten at an Italian restaurant? Maybe at a Mexican restaurant? One of the best ways that we can share parts of our culture with each other is by sharing our foods. So if you've ever eaten food from a different country, that is a way of celebrating that culture. And so with our American heritage, right, we talked about how it's taken from different pieces, different cultures from all around the world that have come here to America to live. What do we all share and have in common? Well, everybody gives little pieces of their culture to make our American culture, but there are a couple of things that are unique about being American. One of them is our holidays that we like to celebrate. There are some holidays that we celebrate here in America that aren't celebrated in other parts of the world. For example, the 4th of July. That's our Independence Day. It's an important part of our culture. It's a tradition that we celebrated every year. Other important holidays that we celebrate here in America are Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Veterans Day. We honor groups of people in Veterans Day that fought and served for our country. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we celebrate him and all the work that he and so many other people did for civil rights. Another thing that's an important part of our American culture is our commitment to having freedom. We have a lot of freedoms here in the United States. We talked about some of them earlier this year when we talked about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So, as you go through and read and study this next unit, pay attention to the different traditions, the different parts of culture that have been brought to make our American culture. Maybe you want to ask some adults in your family, what are some traditions from your culture? Keep working hard. Go Dolphins.